Hey guys, it's Michael from Fire and Brilliance, and this subject is probably way overdue. I mean, we've been going over so many things regarding to gemstones, to diamonds, to moissanite, to lab-grown diamonds, to colored stones, ruby sapphires, and so forth. But I thought about it, and we haven't really talked about jewelry too much. So this subject in particular is about a very popular piece of jewelry these days, and it's called dainty jewelry. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the pros and cons of dainty jewelry. But before getting into it, especially if you've been following the channel for a long time, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button because it obviously helps out the algorithm, but more importantly, it shows that you support us. Okay, so follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, as well as Twitter, and I'm gonna get right into it for you. All right, so today I'm going to go over 3 pros as well as 3 cons as to why dainty jewelry is it for you or is it not? Okay, so basically let's go over the fun stuff first. Let's go over the pros before we go over the cons, okay? But before starting on that, I want to make sure I break down the definition of what is dainty, okay? So per Google, dainty is a definition of what is delicately small and pretty. All right, so in other words, it's typically thin and petite. It's delicate, but at the same time, it's nicely accessorized on your body when it comes to jewelry. All right, so what are some pros of dainty jewelry? Well, dainty jewelry is actually quite popular these days. It's actually very trendy at the same time. It's very modern. So point number 1 is that it's very stylish. It's very modern. It's very trendy. People do love to wear dainty jewelry. Now, dainty jewelry means all types of jewelry. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be one thing. It's not just rings, but it's also pendants, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, bangles, what have you. If it's thin and petite and if it's pretty, then it's considered dainty. And so therefore, at the same time, you can wear it with many different outfits. You can wear it in a casual setting to a more of an elegant setting, to more of a nice dinner, to more of an office space, to more of a, you can even wear it at home. Dainty jewelry is made for the everyday wear no matter what the environment is. So it's actually very, very popular. And at the same time, it's very trendy. Again, okay, so that's point number 1. It's very stylish. Point number 2, it is inexpensive compared to thicker jewelry. Obviously, it makes sense, right? Because if you're making dainty jewelry, it requires less precious metals, less maybe gemstones, and therefore it's just less in general in terms of the material required to make dainty jewelry. So what does it mean when something's less expensive? Well, if something is less expensive, it gives the buyer the option to either 1, save more money to buy, to have dainty jewelry, or 2, to have more dainty jewelry options in their arsenal of jewelry, right? So when something's inexpensive, the lower requirement of the precious metals and gems, it also has a less of a burden at the same time if it's ever lost or stolen. Because if you spent less on it, you won't feel as bad if you accidentally lose it. Obviously, no one wants to lose jewelry regardless if it's dainty or not. But if it is less expensive, then at least you won't feel as bad. Because people do lose their jewelry, unfortunately. It's something that you wear on your hand, your body, so sometimes if you lose it, you end up losing it, but at least you won't feel so bad. And at the same time, again, if it's inexpensive, you're able to have the option to purchase multiple pieces for multiple outfits as opposed to spending your entire budget on one piece of jewelry. And then point number 3 is that it's light and fun to wear. What does that mean? Well, light jewelry, it's nice to wear because it's not too heavy on the finger, not too heavy on the neck, not too heavy on the earlobes, not too heavy on the wrist, right? When you're wearing, it's nice and light, it's fun, it's youthful, it's just really something that people normally will want to wear because it just gives it that very light, fun, youthful look. Now, at the same time, that can also be a con, and I'm going to get right into it for you, okay? So, but before doing that, let me review the first 3 pros as to why dainty jewelry is for you, or maybe for you, is because it's modern, trendy, and stylish. Number 2 is because it's inexpensive. And number 3, it's because it's light and fun to wear. Now, let's go over the cons. I mean, obviously there are cons as well. So let me go over point number 1. Point number 1 is that when something is dainty, light, and petite, it's made thin, then it may have some durability issues, right? So it makes sense. I mean, if something's thick, then it'll be more durable and it can stand the test of time, whereas something that's more dainty has the it has more durability issues because it's lighter jewelry has less substance. In other words, it has less metals, has less gold, less platinum, less silver, whatever it is that you prefer in terms of your metal type, and it is more prone to accelerated wear and tear. What does that mean? So when you're wearing something, let's just say for example, if you're wearing a ring on your hand and you move your hands a lot like the way I'm speaking right now, and I tend to move my hands, if you're knocking around all day over the course of a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, the chances of thicker jewelry lasting longer is much higher than dainty jewelry, obviously, right? So thinner jewelry typically has accelerated wear and tear because there's just not enough substance in there to take a beating over time. Now, so it could be scratched, it could be dented, it could crack, or it could even break. Okay, so that's number one, durability issues. Number two, another con is that it's easier to lose if you're not mindful. So what does that mean? I mean, obviously people can lose thick jewelry, right? People can lose thicker jewelry versus dainty jewelry, but what does that mean to lose dainty jewelry? Well, how is it easier to lose dainty jewelry? Well, it's because it's so light that if it was to detach from your body, you may not even feel it. And believe it or not, it happens, right? So for example, if you're wearing a dainty bracelet or dainty earrings or a dainty necklace, where let's just say if it's snagged on something and it detaches, you may not feel it fall from your body, or you may not even hear it hit the ground because it's so dainty. And it happens, unfortunately, but that is a con, right? So it basically ties back to number one, lighter jewelry is just not as noticeable to the person wearing it since it is so light. Right? So if earrings or a thin necklace should detach, one may not even feel it since it's so light. So compare that with a larger chain, for example, like a rapper's chain, right? Or one of those hip hop chains. Imagine wearing a really thick chain with a big pendant. If somehow, chances are it probably won't detach because it's so thick, but somehow it detaches. If it falls to the ground, you can be sure if you're walking, hopefully it's not in water, if you're walking, you could definitely hear it if it hits the ground, right? So you could definitely feel it if it falls off your body because it's so thick, right? So that's what I mean when it comes to if you were, it's easier to lose dainty jewelry. Now, number three, it's just much more difficult to maintain it in the future. So for example, most of the times when people buy fine jewelry, typically they want to put in some kind of a maintenance with their jewelers over time to ensure that it's continue to be pretty, to be chic, the metal is nicely polished, white gold is rhodium plated, what have you, right? So when it comes to dainty jewelry, it's much harder to repair. So in other words, if you were to accidentally break or crack a thick ring, it's much easier for the jeweler or professional jeweler to repair a thick ring versus something that's extremely thin and dainty to repair it back to its original condition, especially if it had a very specific design to it, such as a filigree design or a scroll work or some mill grain, right? So if it's thicker jewelry, it's much easier. There's much more real estate for a jeweler to actually work with. Whereas if it's dainty, it's just so tiny that sometimes if it is damaged to the point of no return, then a professional jeweler may not be able to repair dainty jewelry as opposed to just remaking it from scratch. All right, so those are the 3 points, 3 cons of dainty jewelry, which is durability issues. It's easier to lose, unfortunately, if you're not mindful. And number 3, it's much more difficult to maintain should it be broken and no longer be able to be repaired. All right, guys, so what do you guys think about what I just said there in terms of dainty jewelry? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Was there another pro or another con that you may want to leave one of the examples below? Maybe you have an experience on your own that you basically went through with dainty jewelry that you may want to leave a comment below to help out other people that are looking for this type of information. And again, we are an educational channel here at the Geminar, so we always are looking for a different topic to go over. So if you have a topic that you would like for us to go over, we do read all of our comments, and if it's popular enough, we may make a video just for you because we do that all the time, okay? So again, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, show us that you support us, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.